I was like, I'm gonna make sure I listen to this album because I don't want to do the podcast. And Brian asked me, "Have you heard it?" And I'm gonna be like, "Nah, I haven't heard it." I'm like, "Oh, you should." So I listened to the whole thing before we did the pod tonight. But anyway, y'all should know, Clipse came out with a new album. They returned with their critically acclaimed album, "Let God Sort 'Em Out," has reignited conversation about the complex relationship between faith and hip hop. Of course, Malice, who was once part of Clipse, left the group to pursue his Christian faith. Now he returns as No Malice, along with his brother Pusha T.
No. He's back Malice.
Oh, he's back Malice. He's not No Malice no more.
That's what I'm talking about. Like he's full back.
So we'll talk about that because I was wondering about the whole cursing and the.
He's cussing.
He is cursing. I was like,
he's not overly cussing, but he's cussing on it.
But he's cussing. So I want to talk about that, right? So let's talk about that, right? Along with Pusha T, without abandoning his beliefs, this raises deeper questions. Can artists authentically express spirituality while still engaging in explicit or street-centered content? We'll talk about Malice, Mace, Freeway. Are they contradicting themselves from their belief perspective to what they say in their music? And I thought that was a great topic because, one, I didn't know that he returned as Malice. I thought he was still being No Malice and was, because I was wondering, like.
And just to kind of set the table, y'all.
Let's set the
table. Like, you got to go back to Mace. You know, and Mace had a book, which I got my cousin to get him to sign, but like I got a signed copy of my Mace book. But the book was, to me, was really powerful because he explained how he totally walked away from hip hop and rapping and all. He didn't want to do gospel rap. He thought rap was of the devil, and he walked away. And he described in the book of being with Diddy, with Puff and Clive Davis's office, and they were trying to pressure him to like still do music. Okay, well, you can still love God and all that. And how he knew in his heart he had to leave. And he was in the bathroom just praying like, how do I get out of this? Because they're pressuring me, but I don't want to do this. I thought that was real powerful.
Yeah.
Fast forward years later, he comes back with the Welcome Back song, with the Mace and the Breathe, Stretch, Shake, and all that stuff. And, you know, he's kind of been kind of teetering since then. I don't know, you know, I think he still preaches, but he does the podcast with Cameron. It is what it is. And they talk about some wild stuff on there. I don't think Mace ever cusses. Every now and then he'll jump in and give a word, you know, from God, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so that's that. Then you got artists like in the Muslim faith, you got Loon. You know, Loon was real popular. It's funny because they were saying that years ago, they were saying that Diddy's making everybody turn to religion, or either go to jail for life or turn to religion. Because, you know, Shine came out and was Jewish and all this stuff. So you know, but Loon, he got arrested and was in jail, I think, overseas for many, many years. He got out. He's like Muslim, and he refuses to rap, you know, at all. He's taking that stance that Mace took. You know? Then you got guys like, I think, Napoleon from the Outlaws. Again, you know, he's total Muslim. I'm not rapping. I can't. It's a contradiction. You know, my faith is holy, and I can't do it. Then you got rappers like Freeway, who's very much Muslim, very much upfront about his faith, still rapping, hardcore hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So I compare it to that. Of course, you got different religions, but it's still the same in terms of holiness and righteousness versus what I talk about in my music. And it begs the question, like, is this like money? Like what if you were totally against hip hop? You know, why are you still doing it? And I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm just, I'm just, because here's the thing. A lot of us, especially in the independent space, and especially to be independent, you got to believe in God. You got to pray because it ain't easy out here. So a lot of us are, you know, still in the church, still into our faith, real big. And how do we reconcile that with being artists that may be explicit, or even taking a step further, even being behind the scenes? You're an engineer, you're a producer. You know, so many producers produce for God knows who, and they stand behind the fact, well, this is just work for me. You know, I'm a true believer. I believe in Jesus Christ. I'm a Christian and born again, filled with the Holy Spirit. You can do whatever you want to with this track because it's just work for me. I'm just working. You know, not to mention the potential effects this music is going to have on the community and the world, hey, it's just work.
Right.
You know, I don't know what the executive at Coca-Cola is doing when I work for, or the executive for Delta Airlines, what they're doing with the money, with their. I'm just here to work and do it honestly. Sort of how we talked about last week in terms of what I signed or deal with Revolt and with Diddy.
Mm-hmm.
Same concept, but the whole Clipse thing and Malice just got me to thinking, because, you know, when you walk away from that, your money's gonna drop.
Yeah.
Your money's gonna drop. And it's just real convenient that after all these years of like having to depend on God for every dollar, now it's like you got an epiphany and you want to rap again.
Mm-hmm.
Go on tour again and make all
Mm-hmm.
this money again.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not taking a stance. It's just things to think about.
Yeah, it's very interesting how we have religion intertwined into hip hop. I mean, when you think about the origins of hip hop, a lot of the rappers in New York were either Muslim, 5%ers, right? So they already had a integration of that religion into hip hop from the very beginning. I mean, you got rappers talking about bless the Quran, talking about being a 5%er. I mean, I remember listening to Busta Rhymes songs, and he's talking about, whether it's Busta Rhymes or whether it's a Tribe Called Quest or Wu-Tang, or, you hear the religion in the songs, but it doesn't. And that's always the conundrum is, and especially from, because the only faith that I have for me is Christendom, right? So how does that play out for me as a believer in what my beliefs are and what I believe the Bible says, and if because I produce, right? And if I'm a producer and I'm working with
NBA Youngboy,
NBA Youngboy, right? How does that,
the leader of the YNs,
right? How does my faith and what I believe in now intersect with the music that I'm producing and the message that, NBA Youngboy, whoever the artist is putting out? I was looking up because one of my favorite rappers, y'all may or may not, y'all probably don't know. I was trying not to fan out when I met him, right? And it's so weird because I got homies who know this dude personally, and it's like, but I know them and they producers and artists, but I don't fan out when I'm around them. When I met this dude, I was like, yo, what's good? His name is The Truth, right? And so when I first met man, if you ever see this, right? I was trying not to, but he's one of my favorite rappers. He's one of my favorite, period, rappers.
I booked him for a show.
Yeah.
About 15, 16 years ago. Right at his height.
At his height. That's right. So I looked up the lyrics to Open Book, actually my favorite album from The Truth. And he has a song they call Price Tag. That's what I went to go look up. All right. And so in verse 3, I should know about heart because I pretty much know this verse by heart. He said, I know some dudes that are Christian that produce for the wicked. And I know some musicians that use their gift in the church. But the same musicians that use their gift in the church produce and play for the wicked, but they call it work. And they try to justify and say it's just a job. It's the customized line that they use to compromise. Just adjust the knob on your radio. Here we go. Another song I ain't produced. It's producing lust and lies. It's another side to the coin. And I know and you know where I'm going. This is bigger than trying to stay employed. And I'm so convinced that there's more, because if these same producers were writers, they wouldn't write for Playboy, right? He's like Manny goes in this whole thing. He said, I know I sound kind of stern, but if I major in communications, they wouldn't work for Howard Stern. It's like, so how do you separate, right? So that's the whole third verse, right? I know they're more concerned about the dollars earned than they are God's glory. I ain't talking out of turn. So he goes to his whole third verse talking about that. So how do you, and it's so crazy that we're talking about it, and I'm wearing a Flavor Fest shirt, right? I just grabbed it out of the closet today, which Flavor Fest was like the very first Christian hip hop, like like festival that they had in Florida.